For 3 weeks after the attack on the peace talks, the galaxy was eerily quiet. No human ships appeared on any alien sensor. No human communications were detected by any listening post. No human colonies sent out distress signals or surrender messages. It was as if humanity had simply vanished from the universe. War Commander Thex Val stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at reports from Corvan fleets across human space. All human installations have been captured or destroyed, his aide reported. No resistance encountered, no human military response detected. Thex Val nodded with satisfaction. The humans were even weaker than we calculated. Their entire species collapsed after one coordinated attack. In the Zephyrian Collective's primary data center, Prime Logic Kelnoth was analyzing the results of the human elimination campaign. Statistical analysis confirms complete success, he announced to the Collective's ruling council. Human technological development has been terminated. Human cultural influence has been neutralized. Human biological expansion has been halted. Elder Morthana meditated in the crystal gardens of the Veltar homeworld, feeling the satisfaction of ancient prophecies fulfilled. The young Chaos Bringers have been silenced, she told the assembled elders. The galaxy can return to its proper, stable order. The 3 alien powers began dividing up human territories and resources. The Corvan claimed the military installations and mining operations. The Zephyrians took over human research facilities and technological databases. The Veltar assumed control of human cultural sites and historical archives. For 3 weeks, everything went exactly as the aliens had planned. Then the stars began going out. It started in the Corvan home system. Scientists monitoring their sun noticed something impossible happening. The massive star that had burned for billions of years simply stopped. Not dimmed, not cooled, not collapsed. It just stopped burning, as if someone had turned off a light switch. The Corvan homeworld of Thexera found itself in perfect twilight. The temperature remained exactly the same as before. The gravity worked normally. The atmosphere stayed breathable. But the sun had become a dark sphere hanging in space like a dead eye. Emergency fleets rushed back to investigate. What they found was even more disturbing than a dead star. Every living thing on Thexera was frozen in place. Not dead, not injured, just paused. Billions of Corvan civilians stood motionless in their cities, caught in the middle of whatever they had been doing when the sun stopped. They're alive, reported Captain Grixnell from the Surface Investigation Team. All life signs are normal. They're breathing, their hearts are beating, but they cannot move or speak. It's like someone pressed a pause button on the entire planet. War Commander Thex Val received this report while his fleet was still 3 days away from home. That's impossible. No technology in the galaxy can do something like that. His science officer, a nervous Corvan named Vextok, was studying sensor readings with growing fear. Commander, our instruments detect no weapons, no energy signatures, no technological interference. According to every test we can run, nothing happened to our home system. But somehow our sun stopped burning and our people stopped moving. Similar reports began coming in from other Corvan systems. Suns going dark, planets full of frozen populations, space stations where time itself seemed to have stopped working. Always the same pattern. No weapons detected, no technology identified, no explanation for what was happening. The Zephyrian Collective faced a different but equally terrifying problem. Their primary data nexus, a planet-sized computer that controlled their entire civilization, began displaying the same message on every screen throughout their territory. You wanted to see how dangerous humans could be. Observation complete. The message appeared in every Zephyrian language, dialect, and mathematical notation system. It showed up on military computers, civilian devices, children's learning tablets, and even simple calculators. Most disturbing of all, it appeared on systems that weren't connected to any network and had never communicated with any other device. Prime Logic Kelnoth tried everything to stop the message. They shut down networks, destroyed infected computers, and even built entirely new systems from scratch. But every electronic device the Zephyrians created immediately displayed the same words. You wanted to see how dangerous humans could be. Observation complete. It's not a virus or a hack, reported Chief Technician Velnara. The message isn't being transmitted or programmed, it's just appearing, as if reality itself is telling us this. The Veltar hegemony discovered that their sacred worlds were being moved. Not attacked, not destroyed, but literally relocated to different star systems. Ancient planets that had orbited the same stars for billions of years were found floating in completely different parts of the galaxy. Elder Morthana stood in her meditation chamber, trying to understand reports that defied everything the Veltar knew about space and time. Velthara Prime has been relocated 847 light-years from its original position, her aide reported with a trembling voice. The planet is intact and undamaged. The population is safe, but the entire world is now orbiting a different star. How? Morthana asked. We don't know. There are no signs of technology capable of moving planets. No massive ships, no gravitational manipulators, no dimensional gates. The worlds are just somewhere else now. Even more confusing, the relocated planets were often placed in better locations than before. Worlds that had been dying from old, cooling stars were moved to orbit younger, more energetic ones. Planets with dangerous radiation levels were relocated to safer systems. It was as if someone was reorganizing the galaxy to make the Veltar more comfortable. They're taking care of us, whispered Junior Elder Kethuna. The humans are moving our worlds to protect them. This realization was more terrifying than any weapon could have been. On the 4th week after the human silence began, Admiral Sarah Chen's flagship Retribution finally appeared on alien sensors. The ship materialized in the neutral zone between the 3 alien powers broadcasting on all frequencies. The vessel looked wrong to alien eyes. It wasn't built according to any known principles of engineering. The hull seemed to flow like liquid metal while remaining solid. Parts of the ship appeared to exist in different dimensions simultaneously. Weapons that looked like crystallized. Mathematics extended from surfaces that bent light in impossible ways. Admiral Chen's message was broadcast in every alien language. Representatives of the Corvan Empire, Zephyrian Collective, and Veltar Hegemony. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Space Force. You have 72 hours to return every human under your control and formally surrender to Earth Authority. War Commander Thexval was the first to respond, his voice full of rage and confusion. Surrender your one ship. We have thousands of vessels. This is not a negotiation, Admiral Chen continued calmly. This is a courtesy. We are informing you of your options before we proceed with more direct measures. Prime Logic Kelnoth tried to scan the human ship with every sensor array available to the collective. The results made no sense. The vessel appears to exist in 17 different dimensions simultaneously. Our targeting systems cannot establish a lock. Our analysis suggests the ship is mathematically impossible. Elder Morthana felt the weight of ancient prophecies shifting around her. Her people's oldest stories spoke of young races that would one day surpass the old ones, but she had never imagined it would happen like this. What have you done to our worlds? She asked. Admiral Chen's response was simple and terrifying. We fixed some problems. We will fix more problems if you do not surrender. The next 72 hours will determine whether we fix your problems gently or thoroughly. The 3 alien leaders looked at their fleets, their weapons, their ancient technologies that had dominated the galaxy for centuries. Then they looked at their stopped suns, their relocated planets, and their electronic systems that showed messages they couldn't delete. For the first time in their long history, the 3 most powerful civilizations in the galaxy began to understand that they were no longer the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy, and they had exactly 72 hours to decide whether they wanted to learn the difference between human kindness and human efficiency. The emergency meeting took place on a neutral space station that had been hastily prepared by terrified alien diplomats. War Commander Thexaval, Prime Logic Kelnoth, and Elder Morthana sat around a table for the 2nd time in a month. But this meeting was very different from their secret planning sessions before the betrayal. We need to understand what we're dealing with, Thexaval said, his voice no longer confident and threatening. How did they stop our suns? How did they move entire planets? How did they make our computers display messages that shouldn't exist? Prime Logic Kelnoth had spent sleepless days trying to analyze human technology. Initial calculations suggested human science was approximately 200 years behind our level. Current observations indicate they operate on principles we don't even have theories about. Elder Morthana's crystalline form glowed dimly with worry. Our oldest records speak of races that transcended normal physics. We thought they were myths. Perhaps humans have achieved something that we cannot comprehend. The truth was more disturbing than any of them imagined. Intelligence reports were coming in from across the galaxy, and the picture they painted of humanity was nothing like what the aliens had expected. "Sir," Captain Grixnell reported to Thexaval, "our investigation of destroyed human colonies has revealed significant discrepancies. The facilities we attacked were incomplete." "What do you mean, incomplete?" "We destroyed research stations that contained no actual research. We captured mining operations that were extracting common metals instead of rare elements. We eliminated military bases that had no significant weapons or defenses." Captain Grixnell paused nervously. "Sir, I believe we destroyed decoy installations. The real human infrastructure was hidden from us." Similar reports reached the other alien leaders. The humans had deliberately shown them a version of human civilization that was weak, small, and easy to destroy. Meanwhile, the real human presence in space was vastly larger and more advanced than anyone had suspected. "How large?" Prime Logic Kelnoth demanded of his intelligence analysts. "Unknown, sir. Our previous estimates suggested 47 human installations across 12 star systems. Current evidence indicates at least 400 installations across 73 systems, with additional facilities in locations we cannot identify or access. But the most shocking discovery came when the aliens tried to investigate human history more carefully. They had assumed that humanity's rapid technological development was due to luck or alien assistance. They were wrong. The three-way war between our peoples," Elder Morthana said slowly, reading the latest intelligence reports, "began 23 years ago with a trade dispute over mining rights in the Zeta Sagittarius system." "Yes," Thexaval confirmed. "My grandfather signed the agreement that started the conflict. According to these documents, that agreement was negotiated by a human trade representative named David Park." The room became very quiet. The Corvin-Zephyrian resource conflict in the Outer Rim was mediated by human diplomats. The Veltar-Corvin territorial dispute was resolved through a human arbitration process. The Zephyrian-Veltar technology transfer that destabilized the balance of power was arranged by a human consulting firm. Prime Logic Kelnoth's mathematical mind began processing the implications. Statistical analysis indicates human involvement in 89% of major galactic political events over the past 50 years. Probability of coincidence, effectively zero. The aliens realized that their entire three-way war had been carefully managed by humanity from the beginning. Every major battle, every peace negotiation, every alliance and betrayal had been subtly influenced by human advisors, mediators, and consultants. "They made us fight each other," Thexaval said with growing horror. "For decades they watched us exhaust our fleets and waste our resources fighting wars they helped us start. While they prepared for this moment," Morthana added, "they knew we would eventually turn on them, so they made sure we would be weak and divided when that happened." The 72-hour deadline was approaching, and the alien leaders were no closer to understanding how to fight an enemy that seemed to operate outside the laws of physics. Worse, they were beginning to understand that they had never actually been enemies of each other. They had been pawns in a human strategy that spanned decades. "We could try to unite our fleets," Thexaval suggested desperately. "Combined, we have over 50,000 warships." "Against an enemy that can stop stars and move planets?" Kelnoth replied. "Our weapons are designed to fight conventional targets. How do you shoot at something that exists in 17 dimensions?" The answer came when Admiral Chen arrived for the surrender ceremony. Her ship, the Retribution, appeared in normal space accompanied by the most terrifying fleet the galaxy had ever seen. The human vessels defied every principle of starship design. Some ships looked like they were built from crystallized music. Others appeared to be made of solid light held together by mathematical equations. A few seemed to exist as pure concept made manifest, ships that were the idea of ships rather than actual physical objects. But most disturbing of all were the human crews. When the aliens scanned the ships, they found that the humans aboard them were interfacing directly with their technology, not using computers or control systems, but thinking the ships into existence, willing the weapons to fire, dreaming the engines into motion. "This is impossible," whispered Kelnoth. "Biological consciousness cannot directly interface with quantum mechanical systems." "Human consciousness can," Admiral Chen replied, having heard his comment through communication, channels that shouldn't have existed. "You see, you made one critical error in your analysis of our species." The three alien leaders stood in the docking bay of Admiral Chen's flagship, surrounded by technology that hurt to look at directly. Elena Vasquez was with them, alive and unharmed despite supposedly dying in the peace station attack. "The error," Elena explained, "was assuming that the humans you met during the peace talks were representative of humanity as a whole." Dr. Marcus Webb stepped forward, his eyes glowing with the after effects of interfacing with reality manipulation technology. "We are not a species that follows natural laws. We are a species that negotiates with natural laws. When physics says something is impossible, we ask physics to reconsider." War Commander Thexval stared at human engineers who were casually repairing damaged sections of the ship by convincing the metal to remember its original shape. "How is this possible?" "Human neural architecture is fundamentally different from yours," Dr. Webb explained. "Your minds seek order, logic, predictable patterns. Our minds create chaos, find connections where none should exist, and imagine solutions to problems that don't have solutions." Admiral Chen led them to a viewing window that showed the three alien home systems. The Corvin suns were burning again. The Veltar worlds had been returned to their original positions. The Zephyrian computers were free of mysterious messages. "We fixed your problems," Admiral Chen said simply. "We could have done it differently. We could have made your suns go supernova instead of just stopping them. We could have dropped your planets into black holes instead of moving them to better orbits. We could have made your computers show much more disturbing messages." Prime Logic Kelnoth realized what she was saying. "You were being gentle with us. We were showing you our capabilities without causing permanent harm. This is how humans solve problems. We demonstrate that we can help or hurt. Then we offer to help." Elder Morthana felt the weight of ancient prophecies settling into place. "What do you want from us?" Elena stepped forward, her diplomatic training taking over. "The same thing we wanted at the peace talks. An end to the war. Cooperation instead of conflict. A galaxy where different species work together instead of trying to destroy each other." "And if we refuse?" Thexval asked. Admiral Chen smiled, but it was not a threatening expression. "Then we will continue to fix your problems until you realize that cooperation is more pleasant than resistance." The surrender ceremony was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The three most powerful alien civilizations formally acknowledged human authority, not through military conquest, but through the simple recognition that humanity operated on a level beyond conventional power. Durkee. New galactic government wasn't a human empire. It was a human-guided confederation, where alien civilizations could focus on what they did best, while humans handled the problems that required thinking outside the laws of physics. Elena found herself appointed as the first human galactic coordinator, responsible for managing relationships between species that were still learning to trust each other. "You know," she said to Admiral Chen as they watched the three alien fleets formally integrate into the human Space Force, "I think this worked out better than our original peace treaty would have." "Of course it did," Admiral Chen replied. "The peace treaty was Plan A. This was Plan B. Humans always have a Plan B." Across the galaxy, dozens of other alien civilizations that had been secretly watching the conflict began sending diplomatic messages to Earth. They all wanted to know the same thing. How could they join the new order before humanity decided? They were a problem that needed to be fixed, and in the deepest reaches of space, Humanity's real exploration fleets began emerging from hidden dimensions, ready to discover what lay beyond the known galaxy. The alarm bells rang through the massive space station called Nexus Prime. In the central meeting hall, beings from across the galaxy rushed to their seats. Some walked on legs, others floated in gas bubbles, and a few rolled on crystal formations that sparkled with inner light. Elder Zarthek's crystal body pulsed with worried colors as he stood before the great viewing screen. His people, the Vectar, had lived for thousands of years, but even he had never seen readings like these. The other council members whispered among themselves in dozens of different languages. "Silence," Zarthek commanded, his voice echoing through translation devices. "We have a serious problem." The screen showed a map of their galaxy. Most of it glowed with the warm colors of civilization, trade routes, colonies, and busy star systems. But one huge section remained dark. Everyone called it the Dead Zone. For 20,000 years, nothing has come from that region, Zarthek explained. No signals, no ships, no life. Our probes that enter never return. It has been this way since the humans vanished. A young HFY officer buzzed her wings nervously. Her insect-like eyes reflected the screen's light. "Elder, why do we still worry about humans? They are gone. They have been gone longer than my species has had space travel." Zarthek's crystal body darkened. "Because, young one, humans were never truly gone. They simply stopped talking to us." The elder called up old records on the screen. Images of human ships appeared, massive vessels that looked like floating cities. Pictures of human colonies showed green worlds where nothing should have been able to grow. Videos displayed humans in impossible situations, somehow finding ways to survive. "Humans were different from us," Zarthek continued. "When we found a problem too big to solve, we accepted it. When humans found a problem too big to solve, they changed themselves until they could solve it. They never gave up. They never stopped trying. And they never, ever, truly died." Dr. Kelethon, a being made of living gas held together by a mechanical suit, drifted forward. "Elder, with respect, that was 20,000 years ago. Even if some humans survived, they would be primitive by now, cut off from galactic technology and knowledge." "Would they?" Zarthek asked. "Show them the readings." The screen changed to display energy signatures unlike anything in their databases, strange gravitational waves that bent space in impossible ways. And there, at the edge of the dead zone, something massive was moving. "Our deep space sensors picked this up 3 days ago," announced Commander Vexahai, a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms. "Something the size of a small moon is traveling through the dead zone. It is moving toward our space." Gasps filled the chamber. The young HFY officer's wings stopped buzzing entirely. "A moon? Moving on its own?" "Not a moon," Zarthek said quietly. "A ship. The energy readings match human technology signatures from our oldest records. But they are amplified, changed, evolved." Dr. Kelethon's gas swirled faster inside her suit. "That is impossible. No ship could survive 20,000 years in space. The radiation alone would destroy any known material." "Any known material," Zarthek repeated. "But humans were always good at making the unknown become known." The chamber fell silent as everyone stared at the readings. The massive object continued its slow but steady approach toward civilized space. Its path would bring it close to dozens of populated systems. "What do we do?" asked the HFY officer. Commander Vexahai stepped forward. "We prepare our fleets. If this is truly a human vessel, we must be ready. History tells us they were aggressive, expansionist. If they have survived 20,000 years in isolation, who knows what they have become? Or what they want," added Dr. Kelethon. Zarthek's crystal body pulsed with ancient memories. His people remembered the old days, when humans spread across the galaxy like a wave. They had been fast, adaptable, and unstoppable. They made friends with some species, fought others, and always, always found a way to survive where others could not. There is something else, Zarthek said. Our probes detected something strange about the object's hull. It appears to be alive. Alive? Several council members asked at once. The surface shows biological activity. Plant life, perhaps. Atmospheric processing. It is as if the ship has become its own world, sustained by living systems we do not understand. The implications settled over the council like a heavy blanket. A ship the size of a moon, possibly alive, carrying who knew what after 20,000 years of isolation, and it was coming toward them. How long until it reaches our space? Asked Commander Vexhai. At current speed, approximately 6 months, replied the ship's computer. 6 months to prepare for the return of a species that had once shocked the galaxy with their refusal to accept limits. 6 months to figure out what humanity had become in their long silence. We must warn all member species, Zarthek decided. Tell them the truth. Humanity may be returning, and we do not know their intentions. Will they believe us? Asked Dr. Kelethon. The young species will not, Zarthek admitted. They will think it is just another false alarm. But the older species will remember. We will prepare as best we can. As the council members dispersed to spread the warning, Zarthek remained behind, staring at the readings. His crystal memory held fragments of ancient stories, tales of human ships that disappeared into black holes and returned somehow changed, of human colonies that thrived on worlds that should have killed them, of humans who faced extinction and chose transformation instead. Computer, he said quietly, display all historical records of human adaptability and survival. The screen filled with hundreds of entries. Humans surviving in the vacuum of space. Humans adapting to radiation that would kill other species. Humans finding ways to live underwater, underground in the heart of stars. Each impossible situation overcome by their strange ability to change when change was needed. 20,000 years, Zarthek whispered to himself. What did you become? In 20,000 years? Across the galaxy, the warning spread. Some species began evacuating their outer colonies. Others prepared their militaries for possible conflict. A few tried to pretend the threat was not real. But in the dark space between stars, the massive object continued its approach. Silent, as it had been for 20 millennia, but no longer hidden. Whatever humanity had become during their long absence, the galaxy was about to find out. The age of silence was ending. The age of return had begun, and in the depths of space, something that had once been human continued its patient journey home, carrying secrets that would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about survival, evolution, and the price of 20,000 years of absolute determination to endure. The gas mining station Epsilon 7 floated in the cold darkness at the edge of known space. Its crew of Netheri workers moved through the facility like living clouds, their gaseous bodies contained within environmental suits that let them maintain their natural form. Worker Thelnox was monitoring the deep space sensors when something impossible appeared on his screen. A mountain was moving through space toward them. Supervisor, Thelnox called, his gas swirling with confusion inside his suit. I am reading something very large approaching our position. Supervisor Cordeth drifted over, her own gaseous form, pulsing with concern. Define large. Approximately 12 kilometers in length, 8 kilometers wide. It appears to be artificial. The supervisor's gas turned dark with worry. Show me. The main screen activated, displaying a view of empty space. Then, slowly, something emerged from the darkness between stars. At first it looked like an asteroid, then like a mountain, and finally like nothing anyone had ever seen before. Ship, for it was clearly a ship, was massive beyond imagination. Its hull was dark metal covered with what looked like growing things, green patches that might have been forests, glowing areas that could have been cities, streams of vapor that suggested atmosphere and weather systems. By the ancient gases, whispered Cordeth. What is that thing? Thelnox's readings were getting stranger by the moment. Supervisor, it is generating its own gravitational field. And these energy readings, they do not match anything in our databases. Send a message to Nexus Prime immediately, Cordeth ordered. Tell them we have visual confirmation of the object from the dead zone. As they watched, more details became clear. The ship's surface was not smooth metal like normal vessels. Instead, it looked organic, alive. Structures rose from its hull like mountains or giant trees. Lights moved across its surface in patterns that suggested vast cities or perhaps some form of circulation system. It is beautiful, Thelnock said quietly, and terrifying. The ship continued its approach, not directly toward their station but past it, heading deeper into galactic space. As it moved, they could see that it left no trail of exhaust or energy discharge. It simply moved through space as if the laws of physics bent around it. Try to scan it, Cordeth ordered. Thelnox activated their most powerful sensors. Immediately, warning alarms began to sound throughout the station. What is happening? Cordeth demanded. The scans are being reflected? No, absorbed. It is like scanning empty space, but I know there is something there. Suddenly, their communications array activated on its own. A message began transmitting from their station. Not something they were sending, but something being sent through their equipment. The message was simple but chilling. We see you seeing us. Then, as quickly as it had appeared, the massive ship vanished from their sensors, not moving away, not hiding behind anything, simply gone, as if it had never been there at all. But on their main screen, they could still see it with their own eyes, continuing its steady journey through space. News of the sighting spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within hours, every major news network was broadcasting the recordings from Epsilon 7. The images showed clearly that the object was artificial, massive, and unlike anything in galactic records. On Nexus Prime, Elder Zarthek studied the recordings with growing certainty and dread. It is them, he told the emergency council session. This design philosophy, this integration of biological and technological systems, it matches human patterns from 20,000 years ago. Commander Vexhai paced nervously around the chamber. Our fleets are mobilizing, but what can we do against something that size? Our largest battleships would be like insects compared to that vessel. Perhaps it is not hostile, suggested Dr. Kelethon. It has not attacked anything. It simply continues on its path. A path that leads directly toward the galactic core, Zarthek pointed out, toward our most populated systems. Across the galaxy, different species reacted in different ways to the news. The proud Zephahai began assembling their war swarms, massive formations of fighter craft that could overwhelm enemies through sheer numbers. The crystalline Vectar powered up their ancient weapon arrays, devices that could shatter planets if necessary. The peaceful Lortai started evacuating their outer colonies, while the militant Kreshtar declared their intention to attack the ship before it could enter their territory. But some of the older species, those who remembered humanity's time in the galaxy, counseled patience. Humans were never simply destructive, argued Ambassador Felthara of the ancient Velnari. They were unpredictable, yes. Aggressive when threatened, absolutely. But they were also capable of great cooperation when it served their purposes. That was 20,000 years ago, Commander Vexhai replied. Who knows what they have become after so long in isolation? The answer to that question came when a brave Zephai scout named Kixtel volunteered to approach the massive ship. Her small, fast vessel was chosen because it could escape quickly if needed. Kixtel's ship approached the human vessel carefully, broadcasting peaceful intentions in all known languages. For several hours, nothing happened. The massive ship continued its journey, seemingly unaware of the tiny scout vessel following it. Then, without warning, Kixtel's ship disappeared from all sensors. The rescue fleet that went looking for her found her vessel 3 hours later, drifting in space with all systems powered down. Kixtel was unconscious but alive. When she woke up, her memory of the encounter was strange. I remember approaching the ship, she told the debriefing team. But then I was inside something warm and green. There were beings there, but I cannot remember their faces. They spoke to me, but I cannot remember their words. They showed me things, but I cannot remember what I saw. What do you remember? Asked the intelligence officer. Kixtel's compound eyes reflected confusion. I remember feeling welcome. And I remember them saying something about coming home. But whose home I do not know. Medical scans showed that Kixtel was completely healthy, possibly more healthy than she had been before the encounter. But embedded in her memory were knowledge fragments she should not have possessed. Star charts showing regions of space beyond the galactic rim, mathematical formulas that her species had not yet discovered, and a deep understanding of biological systems far advanced beyond current galactic science. The implications were clear. Whatever humanity had become, they were far beyond anything the galaxy currently understood, and they were coming home with knowledge and abilities that could change everything. As reports of the encounter spread, fear and wonder mixed in equal measure throughout galactic civilization. Some species saw opportunity in the return of such advanced beings. Others saw only threat. But one thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same. After 20,000 years of silence, humanity was announcing their return not with words but with demonstrations of power that defied all known science. The Phantom ship continued its journey, carrying secrets that would soon reshape everything. The galaxy thought it knew about life, technology, and what it meant to survive the impossible. The meeting chamber on the strange living station fell silent as Captain Elena Vasquez began to speak. Her words would explain 20,000 years of mystery and change everything the galaxy thought it knew about survival. "We need to tell you why we disappeared," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to come from vast distances. "And we need to tell you what we became." Dr. Calathon leaned forward in her environmental suit, her gaseous form swirling with anticipation. Elder Zarthek's crystal body pulsed with attention. The diplomatic teams from dozens of species waited to learn the truth behind humanity's great silence. 20,000 years ago, our colonies began to fail, Captain Vasquez continued. Not from war or disaster, but from something we could not fight with weapons or technology, a pathogen unlike anything we had ever encountered. Dr. Marcus Chen stepped forward, his movements flowing like water. We called it the quantum virus. It did not attack our bodies in the traditional sense. Instead, it attacked the fundamental structure of human DNA, unraveling the quantum bonds that held our genetic material together. "A virus that attacks quantum structures?" Dr. Calathon asked, her scientific mind struggling to understand. "Such a thing should be impossible." "Many things should be impossible," Navigator said, their voice carrying echoes of spaces beyond normal understanding. "Possibility is larger than most beings imagine." Captain Vasquez nodded grimly. "The virus spread faster than we could contain it. Within months, entire colonies were affected. Our people were not dying in the traditional sense. They were ceasing to exist on a quantum level, fading from reality itself." The diplomatic teams listened in horrified fascination as the story unfolded. Elder Zarthek's ancient memory searched through historical records but found no mention of such a catastrophe. "We had a choice," Dr. Chen explained. "We could stay and fight a battle we could not win, spreading the infection to other species and possibly destroying all life in the galaxy. Or we could retreat and find another way to survive." "So you disappeared into the dead zone," Elder Zarthek observed. "We created the dead zone," Navigator corrected. "When we realized that conventional space could not protect us from the virus, we decided to change our relationship with space itself." Captain Vasquez gestured, and the chamber around them shifted subtly. The walls became transparent, showing views of the Endurance beyond. But as they watched, the massive ship seemed to exist in several places at once, its image shifting and flowing like a living thing. "We developed technology that merged quantum mechanics with biological adaptation," she explained. "Instead of building ships that traveled through space, we created vessels that redefined what space meant around them. Dr. Calathon's instruments were detecting readings that made no sense. Your ship, it exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Endurance is not just a ship," Dr. Chen said. It is a closed universe where millions of humans have lived, evolved, and adapted for 200 centuries. Time flows differently within its hull. Space bends to accommodate our needs. Millions? Captain Jorvel asked, his military mind trying to grasp the implications. How many humans survived? Survival is a complex concept, Navigator replied. We exist. We continue. We have become something that includes what we were while being more than what we were, Captain Vasquez explained further. Within the Endurance, we created an environment where human consciousness could adapt to quantum uncertainty. We learned to exist in states of probability rather than fixed reality. This protected us from the virus, which could only affect beings locked into single quantum states. The revelation was staggering. Humanity had not simply hidden for 20,000 years. They had fundamentally changed the nature of their existence to survive an impossible threat. But the virus is gone now, Elder Zarthek said. Why return now after so long? Dr. Chen's expression grew thoughtful. We monitored the galaxy throughout our absence. When our instruments confirmed that the quantum virus had finally burned itself out, approximately 3,000 years ago, we began preparations for our return. 3,000 years of preparation? Dr. Kelethon asked. Time moves differently when you exist in quantum probability, Navigator explained. We experienced those years as both centuries and moments depending on which temporal thread we occupied. Captain Vasquez continued the explanation. During our long journey we evolved, not just biologically, but technologically and psychologically. We learned to live as communities within spaces that exist between dimensions. We developed technologies that grow and adapt rather than simply function. The station we are on now, Dr. Chen added, was grown in the few hours since we sent our message. Our ships, our homes, our tools, they are all alive in ways that conventional technology cannot be. The implications began to sink in for the diplomatic teams. Humanity had returned with capabilities that bordered on the miraculous. But what did they want? We did not return to reclaim territory, Captain Vasquez said as if reading their thoughts. Our old colonies are long dead. The worlds we once called home have moved on without us. Then what do you want? Asked Ambassador Felthara. Navigators. Expression shifted, showing depths of experience that spanned millennia. We want to share what we have learned. The universe is vast and dangerous. No single species can face all its challenges alone. We learned this truth the hard way. Dr. Chen gestured, and holographic displays appeared showing the galaxy beyond. During our absence, we observed. We watched as species rose and fell, as civilizations struggled with problems they could not solve alone. We saw patterns of cooperation and conflict that repeat across time. What patterns? Elder Zarthek asked. Species develop technology to solve immediate problems, Captain Vasquez explained. But they do not develop the ability to adapt when those problems change. They build rigid solutions for flexible challenges. We offer something different, Navigator added. Technology that learns and grows. Solutions that adapt to new problems. Communities that can exist in multiple states simultaneously, ready for whatever the universe presents. The chamber fell silent as the diplomatic teams absorbed these revelations. Humanity was offering not just advanced technology, but an entirely new way of thinking about existence itself. There is something else you should know, Dr. Chen said quietly. The Endurance is not the only ship. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Dr. Kelethon's gas swirled frantically inside her suit. What do you mean? Navigator's smile carried depths of starlight and shadow. The Endurance is our scout vessel. Behind us, moving through dimensions that your instruments cannot detect, comes the rest of the human fleet. How many ships? Captain Jorvel asked, his military training demanding tactical information. Hundreds, Captain Vasquez replied, each one carrying the evolved descendants of human colonies that chose transformation over extinction. Each one, a closed universe containing millions of adapted humans, and the accumulated knowledge of 20,000 years of forced evolution. The revelation was overwhelming. The galaxy was not dealing with a single ship or even a small fleet. They were facing the return of an entire civilization that had spent 200 centuries becoming something beyond conventional understanding. "What do you intend to do with such power?" Elder Zarthek asked carefully. "Teach," Dr. Chen replied, simply. "Learn, grow, adapt, help others do the same. And if the galaxy refuses your help?" Ambassador Felthara inquired. Navigator's expression grew sad. "Then we will wait. We have learned patience during our long journey. But we hope that will not be necessary." Captain Vasquez stood, her movement causing subtle shifts in the space around her. "We offer partnership, not conquest. Cooperation, not dominance. We have seen what isolation costs, and we do not wish that fate on any species." The first formal contact between humanity and the galaxy in 20,000 years was ending. But the conversation was just beginning. The diplomatic teams had much to report to their governments and even more to consider about what humanity's return would mean for the future. As the meeting concluded, one thing was certain. The galaxy was about to change in ways that no one could fully predict or prepare for.